Welcome to Talking Grit, a Detroit Lions podcast. Talking Grit is brought to you by the Monroe County Reporters, Monroe's top news source for police, fire, and community events.
Post 3 and Depot Street. Truck boy every
Follow them on Facebook, and for $2.99 a month, you can become a subscriber and get the news you crave even faster.
Welcome, everybody, to Talking Grit. I'm Jason Harwood, and with me is Jacob Litten. We're going to talk about today's Lions preseason game number 2 with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Lions ultimately come out as a winner, 24-23, on Jake Bates' 43-yard field goal. Before we get started, I just want to, again, thank everybody for listening. We do like the shout-outs and that we get from people. It's great. I would frankly like more of it, just some feedback on things you want to see, things you like, things that maybe you think we can improve on. I mean, we're not perfect, and obviously we're just learning as we go. Any sort of constructive criticism is useful. So first, I want to give a shout-out to Cody. He gave us some feedback on our last little bonus episode, the Madden ratings thing that we did with our kids. I read it to my boys. He gave them a good shout out, said they did a good job, and they loved it. So I appreciate it, Cody. Thank you for doing that. Jacob, how did JJ like it?
Oh, he really liked doing it.
Yeah.
It was cool.
We got to teach him to get a little closer to the mic so he can have, because his comments were kind of shaded out sometimes. So give him some limelight too.
He was kind of talking trash, so it's probably best that we couldn't hear it.
Well, that's all right. That's what 13-year-olds do best, I think.
Yeah, right.
Good game today, actually. I thought it was, way more entertaining than the, soak fest that was the New York Giants game. Got to actually see some plays. We saw the Kansas City Chiefs starters for 2 series. So it was good to see our second team defense against their first team offense. Lions actually showed out pretty well, I thought, with that, holding, Patrick Mahomes at 2 field goals. I'm super happy with that.
And a behind the back pass.
Yeah. That is going to be the talk of this week leading up into the next preseason games, because that was unreal when he did that. My boys flipped out when they saw him do that. It was crazy.
It was unnecessary. It was cool. It was cool to see for them. I mean, yeah, the flashy play, but the play was there. He was open. Why does it matter if he flips it or, I guess if you can throw it accurately like that, why not?
Well, I could tell you that in previous years, I'd been pretty peeved off at that, just because I would have taken it as a sign of disrespect. Like, Lions are so lowly that we could throw a behind the back pass and not worry about it. But I don't really think that was any sign of disrespect. I think it's just Patrick Mahomes being Patrick Mahomes. And it was a good pass. And if I don't know, the way the defenders lined up, he wouldn't have been able to go over top, I don't think, because it would have got swatted down. That was probably his only play if he's going to throw it to Kelsey.
I feel like it was designed that way. He probably was, a little pitch or something like that. And then he just decides, it's preseason, we're having fun. Let me give the people what they want.
Yeah, I don't blame him. So we got to make preseason fun, I guess.
Well, it blew up. Everybody's talking about it. All right, enough of that.
All right. So what was your thoughts on the game, just overall?
I mean, overall, I liked what I saw. It definitely was better than last week, which we kind of knew with the rain and everything. Now, normal weather, get to see our offense out there. It was good that Hendon was able to play, because we weren't really sure if that was going to happen or not. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked what I saw out of the offense. I mean, the defense, for us to be having to line up against the Chiefs starters, like you said, and hold them to a couple field goals, that's encouraging. I will say there are definitely a few plays that, broke down where you didn't see what you wanted, especially on that Xavier Worthy touchdown. He kind of burnt Amik on that, and that didn't look like it was necessarily just him outrunning him. It just looked like a bad read on his part.
Dan Campbell kind of alluded that was a miscommunication. And so I don't know if Amik was going to pass him off to someone or thought the safety was going to pick him up. But, I mean, with Xavier Worthy with his speed, you better be on top of your game or he's going to do what he just did. just like JMO on our side. If you not communicating real well, JMO, you can't think for a second. You have to know what you're supposed to do because JMO will just
Right.
burn you. Even if you're paying attention and you're doing it right, it's hard to keep up with them. And Xavier Worthy is obviously, about as fast as Jameson Williams. My thoughts on the game, it was a very entertaining game for a preseason game. Actually really impressed with our offensive line play throughout the whole game. We're playing second and third teamers, and there wasn't a whole lot of pressure that they let up, which could speak to Kansas City Chiefs defensive line. I'm not really sure. But even when they had their starters in, they weren't like just busting through the line. They're definitely getting more pressure with the first team in there than their their backups. But I was impressed with the offensive line. I think they played pretty decent last week, but I thought they played even better this week. So I was happy with that. And Nate Sudfeld had, a pretty decent game. I mean, he threw a terrible interception, but that touchdown pass to Caden Davis was real nice. He got 14 for 27 for 196, TD and interception. That's only half a game. So that's, not bad.
He also actually had a decent run for a first down.
Yeah, that was, no one expected him to run. It was just like one of those bootlegs. And
yeah,
he's
that
just
whole
like,
side of the field.
yeah, he's going, I'm going to get 10 yards. So I'm going to run that with golf,
Yeah.
And we got Hendon in there. And I thought Hendon actually played pretty well. There was 2 hiccups. Obviously the handoff, there was something that happened there. It just looked like, I don't know if Hendon bobbled it a little bit, couldn't get it right into the running back, and, that was a fumble.
He just botched it, though. The snap was a little bit higher. He kind of botched the snap, and then was half holding on to it, also trying to hand it off before he got it secured.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, especially when you're on a goal line, and say that was a real game, you'd rather just take the sack or just, dive on it rather than risk the fumble. And, luckily, the Lions were able to get the ball back with Chiefs doing some curious things, passing on second and 10.
That was weird.
That was strange. I thought Hendon looked good. He looked more comfortable, I thought, in the pocket. He went through his reads. Didn't look like he was looking to run right out the gate. I mean, he did run. He did have a slide, which was good.
Yeah, right.
And then when he ran in for the touchdown, too, I thought he was going to get hit on that touchdown because there was a lot of defenders on there, but he ended up going in pretty much untouched. So,
but he did, like you said, he kind of scanned the field. He was in the pocket. It wasn't like he just took off right away. It looked like he was looking for his reads. He gave it a shot. It wasn't there, and then he makes the right call to go for it. It ends up making it in the end zone.
That's right, and that's the way I want it. I want him to be able to do his reads, and then it's just nice that he's got that, his legs in his back pocket. He can just run. There was another play that he struggled with. It was a third down play, and they got up to the line real late, and it looks like they didn't rush to the line, and then they rushed the snap, and the play just totally broke down. Something happened there. Probably could have called timeout, but we ended up needing those timeouts at the end of the game, so probably a good decision not to call a timeout there. But you'd like to see him get to the line a little bit better. That'll come with, more seasoning, and he'll have better internal clock on that thing. So
Right.
But overall, like I said, entertaining game. I mean, 61-yard touchdown pass to Caden Davis. Yeah, it was fun, and then especially the ending. The ending was great, and we can talk on that a little bit later. Another thing that I liked seeing the game, there was not a lot of injuries. We don't have a post-game report yet, so there might be some injuries that we're not aware of. The only one that I saw, Ukwa left on a chop block, and he went into the tent, but then he ended up playing the rest of the game. So that's a good sign that obviously he was back out there. There was some surprising players at the end of the game. Like Josh Paschal was in there way into the fourth quarter, and same with Broderick Martin. So as a case with Broderick Martin, they're probably just trying to get him snaps. The Josh Paschal playing that late was interesting. Maybe it's just a lack of people that play on the line, but I was surprised to see Paschal still out there in the fourth quarter.
Well, he made an impact when he was out there too, but you're right. I mean, usually for him to be playing that late in the game typically means you're fighting for a roster spot and that you're not exactly going to be, part of the plan.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case with him. I think he's pretty much a loss to a rock, but it was just interesting that I noted that he was out there so late. Amik Robertson also played into the second quarter, which he has obviously no worries about making this team. I think he's going to be the starting nickel, but maybe they're just trying to get him extra steps at nickel so he feels more comfortable there because he's more of an outside corner. What players, Jacob, were you impressed with or were you disappointed with? I mean, we can go either way. So however you want to start it out, I'm going to let you go.
I don't feel like there were a whole lot of disappointments this game. I feel like we played a pretty good game. I mean, there were some ups and downs, but there wasn't anybody overall that I would say I was disappointed with necessarily. It goes back to what we talked about with the wide receiver 3 competition, where it's like we are expecting Fountain and Donovan Peoples-Jones to have games or have those spots where they're going to, break out and they're going to show which one of them is going to win that job. And then instead you've got Doris had 3 targets, 2 catches, 15 yards. And then you've got Donovan has 4 targets, 1 catch, 5 yards. And of those 4 targets, I think he was only open the one time. The rest, it was kind of, them trying to force him the ball. So don't really care for that. But then on the other end, you look at Caden Davis had that really long catch and run. And then, I really was impressed with Isaiah Williams. So Isaiah Williams, 6 catches, 71 yards. He also had a rush. He was involved in the running game. And you've got him included in punt returns, which, he had a really crucial punt return there at the end of the game, which ended up putting us in the position to win. So positives, I would say Isaiah Williams. Negatives, if you have to put it that way, would be Doris and Donovan Peoples-Jones, just because they didn't really put the stats on paper I was looking for.
I agree with you. The wide receiver 3 position is, it's going to be Khalif Raymond is going to be their 3rd wide receiver, but the Lions want to have someone to replace Josh Reynolds. Ben Johnson has said in press conferences that he wants a bigger receiver. So ideally that's Donovan Peoples-Jones or Doris Fountain. That's, but neither one of them have been producing. DPJ had a better practice this week. At least that's what Dan Campbell said. However, you're playing against second and third teamers and you can only get 1 catch. It's disappointing. And Isaiah Williams did look good. He was open a lot. They used him in the rush game. He was returning. He did try to return that 1 punt, did fumble, but Lions recovered it. But then, like you said, he kind of made up for it at the end with that 20 yards on the punt return, pretty much put him in field goal range right from the get-go before they even had to get any more yards on the last drive. So I did like that. Sione Vahki is...
Yeah.
He's the real deal. I'm convinced. I know it's been 2 preseason games, but the way Vahki is just making people miss, he looks really comfortable in the passing game, which is really going to be useful because they're going to be able to put him in so many places, and I think that he's going to get some real play. Craig Reynolds is going to be your 3rd running back, but Vahki is going to be out there for, you can put him out there on 3rd down if we could trust him to block. It's going to be interesting. He's really hard to guard on those wheel routes. And that last drive right before the half where the Lions got a field goal, he had 4 first down catches and they were pretty much all caught before the first down yard line, and he had to make people miss to get those. And that's impressive. His running game, he had 6 rushes for 22 yards. So, it was all right. It wasn't bad. But with better offensive line, he might have a little more room. The first rush that he had where he just went in the line looked a little bit cautious. But after that, I noticed that he was running pretty good. I'd like to get him more space on the edge. He seems to be able to make people miss. So I'd like to see him doing a sweep play. But I am encouraged by what I'm seeing. He also had 4 catches for 60 yards. Justin Rogers interviewed him this week, and in the interview, he asked, you didn't have much experience with running the ball, so what do you feel most comfortable with? And Vahki said he feels most comfortable in the passing game, and that showed today. He just looks very comfortable catching the pass and knowing what to do afterwards. Gets a lot of yards after catch, so I'm very impressed with that. Jake Bates was, he went 4 for 4 in his field goals, hit that long at 55. Missed an extra point. So we had, it's like everything looks good, and then we missed an extra point. I remember Matt Prater missing some extra points. So maybe we could forgive him, but hitting that 55-yarder right out the gate was good. And then the pressure, I know it's a preseason game, win or lose, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But for Jake Bates, that kick really mattered, right? If he misses that kick, what if the Lions are like, I don't know if we can count him on the end of the game. Maybe we got to get another guy in here. So, I mean, for Jake Bates, that was a real kick. And
yeah, that could have been his life on the line, really, right there.
Right. So, I mean, regardless if the Lions are feeling the pressure or whatever, the players want to win, obviously. But, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if you win or lose this game. But for Jake Bates, that kick mattered just like it was a real kick. So it was encouraging to see him make that. I was very happy. It was good for him looking forward. So he's looking more and more like he might be our kicker. I'm not totally convinced, but I'm more convinced now at the end of the game than I was at the beginning of the game.
Based on how that game went, I think that he's definitely got it locked down. I mean, the fact that we haven't signed a kicker to this point means they're really giving him every opportunity in the world. And as long as he keeps making these kicks, obviously the extra point is, a red flag. But, that's the only one that he's missed so far in actual game time. So I guess we'll see how the next preseason game goes as well. But I think as of right now, they're not going to bring on another kicker for training camp purposes. If they decide to go another way, it's probably going to have to be after the initial roster cuts and trying to see what we're dealing with. I think that Bates is the guy to start the season off. I do want to speak on Sione Vahki, though, also.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, great game from him. He kind of said before where he struggles or where he needs the most work is running between the tackles. And like you said, definitely you could tell, running between the tackles does not come as easy or as natural to him as his passing game work. He was great, honestly. I mean, he just, just those little hitch routes, those little things where he was open, catch the pass. I think it was like 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. He catches it 4 yards away from the first down. He's got to make some guys miss and get in that open space. I definitely think he proved his value there. I just also think, with that being said, when you have a healthy Jahmyr Gibbs and a healthy David Montgomery, I don't know that those snaps are really going to be there for him. I do think that we need to utilize him in the kicking game. I know we talked about that before, but I think that I think we need to keep him out there on kick return.
Yeah, I think I think based on the practice I saw, I think him and Khalif are going to be out there. I think that Vahki's going to find snaps if he keeps playing like that. I really do. I mean, maybe not running back snaps, but our running backs are so versatile. You could have Gibbs in there even on 3rd down as a wide receiver, and you got Vahki coming out of the backfield. Vahki is showing that he's hard to cover, and he's probably not someone that you're looking as a primary read. And if you can make one guy miss, that's all we need sometimes to get that first down. So if he keeps playing, on this trajectory, it may not start out the season like that, but I bet you he finds a way to make it on the field at some point. And if an injury happens, then that might be, sooner rather than later. But
that's the thing. If an injury comes up, or if they're playing it safe with Ja with the hamstring and everything like that, I think he's shown that, he has flashes, he has capability of filling in those roles.
Yeah, he's just going to have to show that he can, be trusted to block for the quarterback, because you're not going to get on 3rd down if you can't, be counted on if you have to audible into a play, or you got to, he's got to take on, a block. So, but as a defender, he's not going to be shying away from contact. I could tell you that. He's going to want to initiate contact. I think Sione said that in an interview, that same interview with Justin Rogers that I read, that, Scotty Montgomery, when they don't want to be passive blockers and let the defender come to them, they want to come up and initiate the contact. Vahki said that, as a defender, that comes natural to him. Everything will be a development. He's learning a lot on the job, so it might not be at the start of the season, but eventually, if he could show those, then he's going to be able to showcase his other talents, and it's good to have 4th running back that you could be out there and be, good in the passing game.
So I'm going to present this to you, though.
Yeah.
Because of how Vahki's played and what we've seen out of him. We already kind of know what Craig Reynolds is. We like Craig, but with, Jamar Jefferson, you got Knight running and everything like that. Do you think we keep 4 running backs? And do you think those 4 are going to be Gibbs, Montgomery, Vahki, and Craig?
Yeah, I think there's going to be 4. don't think we're going to, I don't know. I'm going to have to do my depth chart, but I personally think that Knight and Jefferson are on the outside looking in. Jefferson, I don't think played at all today from what I don't know if that was an injury or anything. I didn't read about it ahead of time. Zonovan Knight actually looked pretty good running the ball. He certainly looked better this week than he did last week. And it's probably just because, the field wasn't soaking. He's able to get his feet in the ground. But I think those two guys are on the outside looking in. Vahki is 100% making this team. Same with Craig. Craig's going to be, Craig is really good on special teams, and he can do what they need to do in the backfield. He can block. He can, we've put him in on the goal line before, so the Lions trust him down there.
Hang on, though. That goal line situation was an accident.
Yeah, he
was there, but he was there, but that was an accident.
Still scored.
I just feel like maybe what we're kind of seeing is that Vahki might just be a better version of Craig Reynolds.
I think he's just a different player entirely. But yes, I mean, eventually, could Vahki unseat Craig Reynolds like next year? Yeah, that could happen. Just depends on, how Vahki develops as a running back. But I trust Reynolds way more than at the running back position than I do Vahki right now. However, Vahki looks dangerous out, in open field. So that he has more, I don't want to say home run ability, but I guess you would say that's the closest. He can get a lot of yards after catch, where Craig is just going to run, be reliable, and just, not going to give you a home run ball. That's for sure.
Right. That's just what, love Craig. Like you said, he has value on special teams, and obviously, he can block everything that he brings to the table. He's willing to do whatever it takes. I do like Craig. I just think that Vahki is almost just a better version of him now.
Yeah. I just don't, he's not as good a runner yet. He's still got a lot to go there, but, Lions drafted him for a reason. They traded in to get him for a reason, and it's becoming apparent now he's going to be part of their future plans, which, Brad Holmes does what Brad Holmes does, right?
Right. Do you think that's why that Craig has not been running the ball very much in the preseason, is just because of his usage? Like they know what they have, or?
Yeah, I think that he's locked into running back 3. I mean, he's in training camp. He's out there playing, and he's out there with the 2s all the time. So when I saw him out there, we saw him out there with the 2s also. So right. I think this is just a matter of, we're not going to get anybody injured. Craig doesn't need any more practice on the field. I guess they feel comfortable enough with him at running back 3. So, was there anybody that you saw that you were like kind of disappointed in? One thing that I'll start right out was James Houston. Didn't see him out there at all, and I was hoping to see him. They pretty much said they're going to abandon him at the Sam and just put him at end, which is where we want him anyways, right? Because he can rush the passer. But the Lions did not generate a lot of pass rush early. But I wouldn't, they were playing the number 1. So, I wasn't expecting it. But even throughout the rest of the first half, they were not getting pressure. Most of that pressure came in the second half.
Yeah, we talked about that before too, is, are they going to put more on his plate? They're trying to see if they can trust him in that Sam position to try and, sometimes he's going to be pressuring, sometimes he's blitzing, sometimes he's got to drop back in coverage. Here we found out preseason week 2 that was already too much for him to take, and that they were going to have to try to lessen the load and have him just focus on, rushing the passer. Before training camp started, I considered James Houston to be one of the people that was kind of a lock for this roster. And now I feel like he's just free falling.
That's disappointing. Player I did like was Khalil Dorsey. He had pretty good coverage. He was making a lot. I think he led the team in tackles. He's tied for the lead with Brandon Joseph and Beauplan. He had 5 tackles, which is, I was happy with. Blew up like a screenplay, got a tackle for loss. I was impressed with Khalil Dorsey. He's going to make the team. Vildor actually played pretty decent too, I thought. I would rather see I wanted to see Terrion out there and Ennis Rakestraw, but obviously they were injured this week, so there was probably no chance they were going to play this week. But Amik was out there, and Amik was, we saw him where they gave up that long touchdown, and I know he was in coverage at some point. sounds like he was supposed to be passed out, but I thought Amik played like I expect him to. He's very sticky, and I'm so glad that he's on our team. I think he's going to really have a good year.
Yeah, outside of that one play, Amik played well. And really, the corners that we had out there, we had Vildor, Dorsey, Amik, obviously. Stephen Gilmore is kind of the one I would say is on the outside looking in. I think he needed a better showing more than any of the other corners. And then he, tries to undercut that route, tries to take the ball away and misses it. And then, he's actually the one that chases down. I forget who it was that scored. He chased him down. I think he maybe tried to pop the ball loose and ends up giving up the touchdown. That wasn't good.
The popping the ball out at the 5 when you could have just pushed him out of bounds and you just let him score, that was the worst part of the play to me. I understand trying to get the ball out, but he tried it for too long, basically pushed him into the end zone. So I didn't like that. I get it. You're trying to be aggressive, trying to undercut the route, but you end up giving up a huge play. So, yeah, Stephen Gilmore might be on the outside looking in, but he could also just end up back on the practice squad. I don't know if he's shown enough to other teams that would take him unless, he doesn't want to go in our practice squad and go somewhere else. But he's been with us for so long that I would think that he'd want a shot at the practice squad.
Maybe he's just wanting a shot at competing, I guess. Because you think, in our cornerback room, Terrion, Rakestraw, Amik, Carlton, Davis, those guys are obviously all locks. Mm-hmm. And then really outside of that, you've got KD, Vildor, Gilmore. You're not going to keep 7 cornerbacks.
No. Gilmore's, I think, on the outside looking in. It's just a matter of, outside of an injury happening from here to, to week 1. But I would hope that he could make it onto our practice squad. We spent a year developing him last year. He was on the active roster all of last year, played very sparingly, and it just seems like that would be a waste. But he started out camp real good, but he's kind of fallen to the wayside. And Vildor and Dorsey have been playing pretty well. So, it is what it is, but we'll see how that go. We got a few more weeks before the season starts. I thought Zonovan Knight actually rushed pretty well. I think I might have mentioned that earlier. So as far as any other players, Ben Neiman played pretty good. I think he might be making the roster. He's played pretty well in the preseason. I was hoping to see more from Wingo. Didn't really hear his name at all. When I go back and review, we'll see how he did. Broderick Martin had one really nice play late that he broke through and stopped the run play, but for the most part, I didn't really notice him getting much pressure or...
It's hard as a defensive tackle because technically you could not make it on the screen and you could have had a hell of an impact on the game.
Right.
So
I agree with that. But as far, usually you're going to notice like some more tackles for loss or just something, but it was mostly, they were kind of neutralizing early because they were passing a lot early. Not a lot of run
I think
game.
Our run defense was actually, it was good. How many rushing yards did we end up giving up? They had
that one long 41-yarder.
Outside of that one run by Prince, right? Yeah, outside of that one run, we only gave up like 20 rushing yards. Maybe like 25-ish.
Yeah, that one and that was Chris Smith got... so Ukwa was on the outside. He overran. The left tackle let him run past the play, essentially. Chris Smith, who was playing defensive tackle next to Ukwa, just gets blocked out of the play by Kansas City Chiefs number 66, and they just left a huge lane. That Chris Smith did not look good on that play. He just got totally sealed off that play, and they made a nice hole. And that was like a 1st and 20. They had just gotten a holding play, and then they tear off a 41-yarder. But you're right. Other than that, their run game was, if you take that 41 out of there, they're 18 rushes for 33 yards. So,
yeah,
that's less than 2 yards a carry. So, yeah, good other than that one run. And
I think on that run, too, I want to say it was Iffy that made that tackle. And I feel like that was kind of a veteran look. He didn't run up there and get himself plugged up in that hole either. He took a lane and ran with him and just made sure that wasn't going the distance.
Right. Yeah. No, it could have easily been a touchdown if he wouldn't have been back there. So, you're right. Good read on that. But yeah, overall, good game. For a preseason game, I think it was ended like how I would have drawn it up. A Jake Bates kick, put the pressure on the kid, let him see if he made the kick. He made the kick, so I feel good about that. Going into the next game. So we have one more preseason game, and then it's real time stuff. So, real quick here, let's tell everybody kind of what we got, going on, all the way up until this season. So, we got this recap. We're going to talk about practice and recap in a game 3 preview this week. We'll try to do another game recap next Saturday or Sunday. It's going to be tough with both of our schedules on Saturday. Then we'll do a final roster prediction, and then we're going to get into like full season predictions. So, along with the Lions, we're going to talk about the rest of the NFL. We'll just have like a season preview show, and then we'll get into our regular kind of season stuff. How we're going to do game preview. We'll do that with the Rams game week 1, and then we'll kind of do one of these game recaps for each regular season game. Try to get them out as next day. I think that's the most fun, and then we'll do a game preview, but we'll also might do a little bit of a recap or anything that we saw through video takes. So that's our plan going in. Anything you want to add, Jacob?
No, it's almost here, guys. The season finally. It's been a long wait after that NFC Championship game loss. Our redemption tour begins soon.
Yes, it does. And we're going to, start right out with Matt Stafford. So, for Jacob, I'm Jason. Go Lions.